Again, I've been on good night through you blog thank you through joining me this big night straight you me Toktok the click tonight. Thank you for everybody for staying up late to talk about some of the issues that are facing our country today. I know that we can't be able to cover all these subjects, but I want to assure every one of you that I've received hundreds and hundreds of different questions when we sent out the notice that we will have this live Toktok Law today. I will try my very best to answer as much as I can, but I will assure you that I think the next session we will just have a questions and answer session so we can try and cover much of the issues that have been raised today. So thank you once again for everyone throughout the country and of course some who are joining us from other countries. Thank you very much for joining us on this talk about issues that are affecting Papua New Guinea and largely around the issue about the visit that's going to take place next week by some of our leaders around the world, particularly the President of the United States, who is scheduled to have a stopover in Papua New Guinea for 3 hours before he proceeds to Australia for the talks there. And of course the Indian Prime Minister, who is going to come and have his usual conversation with the Pacific Island leaders that has been going on for some years. Part of that visit will also take place on the same day when the President of the United States are coming. So for Papua New Guineans, let's make them a warm welcome to our country. Our internal issues are our own issues. Our visitors, as we normally do in our Pasinblo Melanesian way, you may welcome him all. Na lara moligo na you may can totok lo all heavy blue you may lo houseman blue you may mas noken soim sambla kai pasin nungut where you saw the second totok where by only karim go out na by display most you mean one bla welcoming country in a country where you miss look at him all visitors bla you mean. So me talk kama mas also moliba come visit him country bla you mean so you may ogata mas one bell na you may larem all the silver big money come na go good bla way. But today I want to talk about our foreign policy in our country, where some of these visits are going to have some influence on the way we shape our foreign policy and what our relationships are going to be with the other Pacific Island nations, our neighboring Asian countries, and of course globally. As you know, the President of the United States will be visiting us, and I'm told that there is going to be a security agreement signed between Papua New Guinea and the United States. Of course, this particular document has not been made public. It was never debated on the floor. It has never been approved by Parliament. So we are all going blind, but some of the reports that we are getting are concerning. Papua New Guinea, as we all know, for over the last 46, 47 years that we have existed as a independent nation. Our foreign policy has been friends to all, enemy to none, and that has been a long-standing policy that has been carried out by many governments over the past. You will also note that we are a signatory to the non-aligned movement, which consists of a few hundred, over 100 plus nations around the world who have maintained signatory to that. And I believe that some of these agreements are going to have a great influence on how we shape and discuss the way PNG positions itself within the region and globally when we discuss global issues. The security agreement that PNG and Australia, America are going to sign, United States of America are going to sign, is concerning because, one, really Papua New Guinea is entering into a position where There are certainly geopolitical issues now on the horizon, has been for quite some time, where there is a emerging conflict between the superpowers within the global community. And you can see the issue about China emerging in our region as one of those influential superpowers that is seen as a competition to the United States. And of course, after many, many years, United States is now taking an active interest in PNG and other Pacific Island nations after being absent for many, many years. One must recall that many of the embassies, United States embassies, were closed in many of the other Pacific Island countries. PNG had continued presence, but of course at a scaled down operations that were taking place. And our engagement with the U.S. has been, of course, since World War II in 1942, 43, 44, 45, when the Second World War took place and PNG got involved, not by choice, but because we were a colony of United Kingdom, and of course, and we were a colony of Australia after the Second World War. But before that, we were a colony of United Kingdom, and as a result of that, Australia and many of the Allied forces were present in Papua New Guinea, and the United States was a key player in the outcome of the Second World War. Now, we are certainly now a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation that is capable, an independent nation that is capable of making sure that we determine our own course, we set our own path, so that we can determine who and what sort of arrangements that we can have with other countries, both within the region and of course with global players. So it is concerning that we do have a choice of how we shape that foreign policy. But the agreement that has been put forward to us from the information that we are having is that largely just been drafted by the United States government, and only a few of our own officials and of course the Minister of Foreign Affairs have seen this document. And as a result, now it has been put forward for the Prime Minister and of course our officials to sign this agreement on the eve of on the day of the visit of the United States President. Now, this is concerning because we live in the Asia Pacific region, and we have much of our trade and investment is coming from this region. How we position ourselves with this kind of agreements will determine the prosperity of our own people and the performance of the economy of our own country, especially with China. And that is why Papua New Guinea has always tried not to sign any defense agreements with any country except with Australia. We have got a defense cooperation agreement which has been long-standing for quite some time. That is for training and of course supply of support to our own defense force because of our past relationship as the colonial power in our country. But with other countries, we have sort of shied away from signing these agreements because we want to maintain a neutrality in many of these situations and relationships with those countries, and with China especially. We have an economic relationship with China, and agreements such as these will determine the course of the future relationship that we will have. Now, PNG is going through tough times in terms of the economy. Foreign direct investment in the country has been very little has been absolutely nothing for the last 4 years. And of course, some of the projects that were supposed to take off have been have not been able to materialize on time. As a result, that has got a very negative impact on the economy, and you can see the stress levels that our people are feeling because cost of living is increasing, inflation is increasing, and unemployment is increasing. So at the background of those kind of challenges we're having, even a defense agreement, and these defense agreements only gives access, even though they talk about climate change and all the other issues like trade and jobs and so forth. Much of the agreement is focused around military arrangements, which gives access to our ports, to our airports, by the United States military forces, particularly naval ships and of course aircrafts. They will have unlimited access to our military facilities, not only military facilities like Long Room, but also down at Nazab and Port Moresby, those key infrastructures that we have in the country. United States can have free access, and that means that there are issues like the immigration laws, all the other constitutional laws that we have in the country will be affected by presence of a foreign force in the country. Much of these issues have not been dealt with by Parliament. A policy statement on this such an arrangement has not been presented to Parliament. It has not been vigorously debated, and to enter into an agreement without much public debate is concerning, because the Prime Minister or the Minister for Foreign Affairs or Minister for Defense does not have the sole right to go out there and negotiate on behalf of our people and our nation. It has to be through a process that includes going through public debates, through NEC, and then further into Parliament to rectify such an agreement that might take place. So I think it's important that we stay focused on Papua New Guinea's national interest. If you see right across the ASEAN, you will see most of the ASEAN countries have not signed such agreements whatsoever. They have bigger economies than us, they have bigger population than us, they have got strategic positions against, in terms of proximity to China. They're closer, but they're jumping into these agreements with PNG, and we seem to be jumping at it as it has been presented to us. I think we need to take time, have a look at it, and then make a case position after observing what is before us, rather than rushing into it. Many of the smaller Pacific Island countries know that these countries have been for many years through either Pacific Island Forum or from various organizations like the Commonwealth or ACP. These organizations have been promoting their desire for peace and for making sure that they do not get caught up in some of the conflicts that are imagined among the big superpowers. And Papua New Guinea is placing itself in a very precarious position if it does sign this agreement. And then, of course, we go to understand that there will be a state visit to China by Prime Minister and other officials later during the year. What are they going to go to China and sign? So we have to be sensitive about the emerging issues within the region. And I think that if some of the ASEAN countries are not signing, in fact, I think not long ago, the United States and, of course, Indonesia had high-level meetings about their defense arrangements. And Indonesia's case was put strongly forward to the United States, that they have a very strong relationship with China and Russia. Similarly, many of the other countries in the region have expressed such concern. But we are in the region. We will live with China being close to us. China is almost our biggest trading partner. They buy all our things, gold, copper, and coffee, timber. In fact, they are the biggest importer of our LNG gas. Now, these things can be at risk. You can only see what has happened to the Australian economy when China decided to say that we are not going to buy certain products from Australia for many, many years. Only last week, the trade minister for Australia was in China trying to put Australian interest before them so that they can open the doors so Australia can export their products into China. So, that kind of decision by Chinese government has placed an enormous stress on the Australian economy as well. So we need to be very careful about how we position ourselves in terms of these discussions. And again, I'm expressing the concern here that the only person who seems to know about the arrangement is the Foreign Affairs Minister. And he has openly come out and said that he has been negotiating this with the United States government, and he is hoping that it will be signed on the visit of the United States President. And also we have seen that, of course, Prime Minister come out recently saying that the Foreign Affairs Minister has been working hard on this, and he was very thankful that. But between the two of them, some of the agreements, I think, need more scrutiny and more clarity around it. And I think the officials need to be able to deal with it. We've seen over the last 4 years how many agreements have been signed and discussed and renegotiated and so forth. And the conclusion of those discussions and agreements have been less desirable for PNG than what we have seen. So while I have respect for the discussions that they are having and carrying forward, there must be more work done. I think it's important that we find a Melanesian solution to some of the geopolitical issues that are happening around us. We need to encourage a peaceful solution. We need to encourage compromise, and that we need to be fair to all our partners. That we need to encourage discussions between these major global players rather than participate in the conflict. We need to stay away from that. China, as I said, is continuously going to be within our region, and it's going to be continuously one of our biggest trading partners. It is the second biggest economy in the world. It will continue to grow at a fast pace and much faster than the United States. And at a certain time, it might overtake the United States as the biggest economy in the world. And we can't just play around with that kind of global economic superpower. And I think it is important that PNG's national interest and sovereignty must be protected at all times. I think Prime Minister needs to pull back, and his government and his ministers need to pull back and listen to some of the expert advices coming both from public sector and private sector and international regional people who study the foreign policy and foreign policy framework within several countries. They are all of the same opinion that we need to encourage the United States to take a more peaceful approach, the United States to be more patient about its relationship with China, and that they should encourage discussions about some of the conflicts that they are having. The second issue is that Papua New Guinea is a signatory to the Nuclear-Free Pacific Treaty that was signed in Rarotonga in 1986. I think it was in 1986. This treaty says that Pacific must be nuclear-free. We don't want any aircraft or ships with nuclear powers or nuclear capabilities to come within our region. And by signing this agreement with the United States now gives access to the United States to bring such ships and aircrafts into PNG and to the Pacific as a whole. So where will be our position if we sign this agreement as it has been presented to us? What will be our position in terms of that treaty that we have signed? Are we now saying that we will forgo those treaties and make sure that United States can come in and out of the Pacific as and when it pleases, and it doesn't have to consult the host government? It can come in and out without any consultation whatsoever. So I think it is important that we, as the biggest country in the Pacific, especially among the smaller island nations, that we we continue to try and maintain this policy that we have been one of the countries that has been leading the signing of the treaty in Rarotonga. And I think it is inevitable that, of course, with the issue about Australia acquiring nuclear submarines, and there is concern within the greater Pacific Island, smaller nations. While there will be promises about climate funding for climate change, and this has been on the discussion table for over 10 years now, and none of the promises that many of these developed countries have made to Pacific Island countries and other vulnerable states have materialized. So we are still waiting for all these commitments that people have made, and yet we are getting nothing out of it, and we continue to support them. And I think it is important that we just have to take a step back and assess all these issues before us, and then we make a decision. There shouldn't be any rush. There's no timeline or time pressure on this. We need to consult the people. We need to consult the stakeholders, and Papua New Guinea must take a lead as the biggest country in the Pacific, biggest economy, biggest population, biggest landmass. And over something in Yimigat, now leadership does only because the Pacific is calling for that. And I think Papua New Guinea is in a unique place where we should not be made to choose between United States and China. We can deal with both. And we can deal with that both at a mature level and without having to be forced into agreements that are going to be detrimental to our country. And the background economy blow you me. Plenty line be not invest because all no trust in me. Plenty man be not buying product blow me because all no believe lo Toktok blow you me. Also you must be careful. United States has got the economic power today, and it's got the technological ability today to help PNG. This is what we should be focusing on economic assistance so that we can develop the country and improve the living standards of our people. We shouldn't be too involved in the military discussions that are going on with the region. We have no ability to help them, except as we are not trying to do is provide basis for them to plan their military programs and outcomes that they are trying to achieve. We shouldn't be participating in that. They have the economic capability to develop infrastructure for us. They have the technological advancements and programs that can change the way we do things in Papua New Guinea. And those are sort of investments that the United States should be making in PNG. Our population is growing at an alarming rate. And I don't think that it's fair to PNG that they were here in the 1940s, about 80 years ago, during the war, and our people, in a selfless fashion, gave all their efforts to supporting America and Australia and all the allied forces. We're probably the only country, one of the only few countries in the world who haven't made any claims against the United States or Australia for such assistance and help we have given. We have done it in good faith, and our country's help was there. But today we should not be allowed to make choices between either you're on my side or their side. We should be allowed to make our decisions for the benefit of our country, and I think these are things that we should be able to discuss with them frankly and in an open and honest manner. And I think Papua New Guineans and the global community will understand. I know that there are many questions, and half of it is also this relates to the foreign minister, and I wish to say he's done a bit of good work around some of these discussions between the United States and Australia and so forth. Try to get this ministry and department moving after it has been a very sleepy department for many, many years. Not because our people are not able to do the job, but it's because the funding has not been going through to enable them to do the work that they are professionally trained to do. But the minister has done some good work, but I know Papua New Guinea is discussing about some of the issues and some of the statements that he has made recently. And Honorable Justin Tichenko has been a minister in our government during the time we were in government, and he's done a good job in so far as serving our country and serving his own electorate. But as I see it, has been discussed widely throughout the country. I think some of the comments that he has made are very irresponsible, insensitive and insulting and degrading for our citizens. Calling us names like animals and primitives and useless is not something that should come out of a foreign minister. I understand the frustrations he's gone through and the references he has made through about events leading up to him saying that. But this is a minister that is the face of Papua New Guinea to the global community, our number one diplomat for us in the country, and then to make such a reference to our people and the people that he represents is uncalled for, and it warrants an action that he himself should take or the Prime Minister should take. The Prime Minister has taken too long, and he thinks that this particular issue will blow away, but unfortunately it's not blowing away. It is out there. We all have given some room for him to make some decisions, but he is not making the decision. The decision now is up to the two men, the Foreign Minister and the Prime Minister. Foreign Minister should be able to say that he will resign because he said the wrong thing. He should resign if the Prime Minister is not able to make that decision. If the Foreign Minister is not able to make the decision, the Prime Minister should now hear the call of the people. And the people want the minister not to be Foreign Minister representing our country. And it is now up to him to make the decision. And he's just sitting and waiting because he's not able to make the decision because of political reasons, nothing else. He's not worried about the country's interest, or he's not worried about reflection of the country's position to the global community. These particular statements are globally reported in most newspapers around the world. And for Honorable Justin Tichenko to continue to maintain that position as Foreign Minister is untenable. He should be, if he is not able to resign, he should be sacked. And I'm calling on the Prime Minister and the Minister to take the most responsible course of action and do the honorable thing and let this matter to be settled. I think enough is said about Justin Tichenko, and I think in terms of some of the call for him to be deported and so forth, I think we need to be careful. We've got a lot of naturalized citizens who have been given citizenship under our constitution, and there is a process. Allow the process to continue, and of course it will take its own course. But you can't go around deporting. We can't go around deporting people at will, but you have to follow the process, and I think our migration people and our citizenship committee people, and of course the independent judiciary will decide on that. But in terms of the positioning of the Foreign Minister, I think it's long overdue. That I also call on all the other, support most of the other calls that it is only the right thing to do. The other issue has been, I've been told about, this reverse racism that people think that has taken place. Issues about racism have been around for many thousands of years, and it'll continue to happen. We live in a global community of 8 billion plus people on this planet, and there are many different races. Many different races. We must be tolerant about race issues, and we must be respectful to each other. And I think any form of racism is unacceptable. If we are to engage in that kind of debate, we need to be careful, but we need to be respectful to each other. I also want to make a few comments about. The gold bullion. gold bullion, because that's again questions that have been raised through our exchange here, and most of them say that this is what the country needs, and yes, gold bullions are what the country needs, but the manner in which the government is announcing this policy, and the approach that they are taking is completely wrong. They are suggesting that the Bank of Papua New Guinea should be able to collect all the gold and do the refining themselves. First of all, we need to find the money. Where is the money that coming from to do that? I think this kind of policy, you need to talk to all the stakeholders. You got to get the public, you got to get the investors, you got to get all the landowners. And we have been a mining country for many, many years. And I think proper consultation is something that can be achieved in this sector, because there's a lot of experience and expertise out there. So I urge the government that not to rush this kind of very important policy framework that they are presenting, where they've made mistakes already. It has been publicly debated, and you can see the trend of public debate going, where they think that the quick fix solution is to introduce a gold bullion policy, which has been not thought through properly. And I think it's important that we keep into perspective that this is a very important industry for Papua New Guinea economy and the people. Now we've rushed into decisions like shutting down Porgera. Now we've rushed into decisions about gold bullion development in the country. We've delayed projects unnecessarily. We've raised unnecessary expectation of our people. These are things that we can't keep on changing our mind and keep on making commitments that we can't keep, and say things that we won't be able to achieve. So I think they need to take it back to the drawing board and try and get something that can be achievable, and achievable in the sense that something like the mineral refinery operation or organization that MRO, I think that they had before. Those are things that government can do to try and slowly build it up to a stage where we can be able to have a gold bullion reserves with the central bank over time. But today we are struggling to even get foreign currency. How are we going to buy gold when gold is traded at global prices? I think right now it's about just around $2,000 per ounce. And we are certainly missing out, because we are continuously making the mistakes over mistakes, and that is not helping anyone, not helping the landowners, not helping the economy, not helping the SME and truckies and all the contractors and so forth that is going around. And I think it is important that we continue to, it is important that we bring some common sense discussions back in there, and bring some people who are able to lead these discussions, who have got expertise in the industry. You've got a lot of people who have been working in the mining industry who are out there, like the former secretaries and former heads of departments for both mining and petroleum sector. They are still alive and around. These are people who should be engaged in taking these discussions forward. They are able to give our young politicians and young leaders and young bureaucrats a good guidance to establishing a policy that makes sense. So I think that is where that's my view on the gold bullion issue. On the issue about my friend, member for Pomio and the Honorable Elias Kavavore moving over to government. As I said yesterday through FM 100, I believe, that we respect the member's decision. That's he is a mandated leader, and he can take decisions that he believes are correct for him and the electorate and so forth. But this is a trend that should be worrying our country and our sort of political system that we are practicing in this country. It needs some thinking. We've just come through a very difficult election. an election that was full of irregularities and fraud and corruption and you name it. Any word that you can describe an election process that wasn't fair is the one that we just had. And now we've got a record number of court cases before the courts, and then we have a government that is, to say the least, quite erratic in making decisions from one topic to the other, or one subject to the other, or one policy to the other. That is not stable, and then now you have a pressure put on by the government on members, particularly in opposition and other smaller parties, to join the ruling party. When the election of the Prime Minister and the formation of governments have been done, but certainly there is some determined effort by those in government to try and recruit as many members as possible. So it is quite obvious what is going on. But to use government resources like holding on to DSIP and holding on to basic programs like health and education and roads and funding for law and order and so forth, to just put political pressure on government is quite a concern, and I think members is quite a concern. And once we continue to have this kind of behavior where people are not standing on policies and people are not standing on principles and people are not standing with integrity and loyalty, we will still continue to have this destabilizing factor within PNG politics. And as a result, you see governments continuously managing politics rather than implementing and managing the affairs of the country. So today we have this mismatch where political survival is more important than saving our people. And that's a style of politics that we are doing today, and I think it's something that will continue to do more damage to our country. And I think the sooner we try and find a system that is going to stabilize that, the better it is. And I hope that some of the discussions that are taking place and the reviews that are taking place about elections and so forth will give some guidance and clarity to how we can move forward when they present their reports. So I think we will continue to move on. And of course to our supporters and PNC supporters right throughout the country, stay strong. As we always say, work must go yet. Even though we don't have funds, we continue to try and deliver services to our respective electorates. Some of us probably would do a little bit less than what we used to do, but as they say, we have to live within our means. And I think it is important that our people understand. That's why when they voted us along party lines and along whether you were independent or not independent. They voted you because they believed in the sets of policies and things that you stood for. So I want Papua New Guineans to continue to believe in that it is important that we change our mindset about how we vote and how we form governments and how we elect leaders. We need to elect people with integrity and will stand on what they believe. It may be to the members or the leaders' personal cost to him personally about his challenges to himself, all the heavy problems that come to him. You have to maintain that. It doesn't mean that because you face problems you quickly change your position and quickly change the way you where you engage with your electors and so forth. You have to stand on what you have stated, and then I think people will continue to understand you and be able to support you in your work as well. So we look forward to that. The second issue is about King's coronation. I know that the King's coronation is an important occasion also for a Commonwealth country like ours. Our head of state is now the King of England, but after 50 years, I think this kind of arrangements we need to change. There is really not much value except everybody lining up to get knighted at the end of each year, but I think the value for knighthood is gone. This is our relationship with England is so distant that we are just living about the empire that was gone many years ago. A lot of countries around the world have now moved on to being a republic, still republic, but being a member of the Commonwealth because of the association of the British Empire before. We can still be members of the Commonwealth, but we don't need to have someone to be head of state who is distant from us and who is distant from the challenge that we have in our own country. And I think this trip to England by 31 or 33 or 35, I don't know what number, when they had some extravagant cost, I think it is simply uncalled for. You have this unnecessary, it's just a holiday for few people to go and visit England and hang around and do whatever they had to do there. But it is something that is now, we've seen that this government is now becoming used to taking large delegations, and we've seen them go to some of the rugby league matches in Australia, where 50 or 60 people traveling at government expense, extravagant show of a number of leaders who were traveling there, and then hundreds and hundreds of people going down to Australia to go to mining conference and business conferences. When these business conferences, we are talking about Papua New Guinea, we should be encouraging it to be held in Papua New Guinea. If more business conferences here, so people can visit us, who is interested in doing business with us must travel to PNG. We are not doing business in Australia, we are doing business in PNG, so investors and people who want to work with us in our communities should come here and face our people and face our country and say, all right, I like this country, I want to invest here, and there is a very much better understanding of our country. But all these junket trips, I think the Prime Minister said that he was going to stop this on, I think, January 2020, I think he made this big announcement saying that he is going to stop all the excess travels that are happening. I think he should stop by traveling himself and set an example of the others and say, listen, enough. Our people are struggling to survive out there. And when they see thousands and millions of kina being spent on junkets like this, what do you expect? People are unhappy. People are certainly going to be frustrated. People are going to be angry. And I think it's important that our leaders, and especially our Prime Minister and his government and his ministers, need to be sensitive to this. People are struggling to find meals for their families, and they've got no job and no income. And if you are not sensitive to that, I don't think that we are really serving our people and we are really working for the interest of our country. So I think some common sense should prevail, and I think we should be able to try and make our people's lives a little bit better by making the right decisions and doing the right things. I am told that we are again going to have another public holiday because some of these leaders are coming. It's an important occasion, but listen, we've had almost a shutdown of our economy and our country during COVID, during the elections. Now we've got more holidays, and we are discouraging our people to work. And this kind of holidays is a huge cost to people who are employing these people, because during holidays you still have to pay them, but you are having no income coming into your business or to your organization to maintain that level of employment of our people. So government needs to balance this and see that you are not disrupting and adding cost to already a very high cost country that we are running in terms of looking after people and employing people. So I think just too many holidays we've had for everything, from birthdays to meetings, and now we're having another meeting. I understand that the President of the United States is going to visit PNG for 3 hours. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if we are still working and even have a 3-hour break to say welcome to him. But I think it's just a little bit ridiculous to continuously have holidays as we speak. Do you think, somebody's asking me, do you think we should have a Queen of Britain or head of state? What is a better alternative? Well, as I said, I'm a strong believer in our own people charting their own destiny and making decisions on their lives and what will affect them into their day-to-day living. It's better to have a head of state who's living in the country and sensitive to that. So I think after 50 years, we are approaching very, very soon. Papua New Guinea needs to look at the possibility of going. I think Republic is, and of course Papua New Guineans appointing their own head of state who can be able to relate to them and be aware of the challenges and issues that are facing. Head of state has got a very good, important role because when elected governments are not performing, this is someone that the public and our population can turn to say, listen, you need to help us, ask the government to get back into performing the role that they were elected to do, and that is to serve the people. So there's a guiding principles that this particular role can play in terms of assisting to manage the country's issues that come from time to time, and we will face many of it in the future. And I think it is important that that we continue to find a way that we can manage on our own affairs. So I think that's a way to go. On the issue about somebody said some of the allowances that were paid to public officials who went there, I think some of these allowances are exorbitant for one-day event in London. In the coronation celebrations took place for not celebrations, but the occasion and the process took place for a day, and then of course lead up a day before and probably a day after. But for people to have an extended holiday for 5 or 7 or plus days is a little bit too rich, too much for me to understand. And I think we need to pull back and rein back on these things. And Prime Minister himself has stated that he is doing it, but somehow he's lost control of his ministers and his departmental heads, and they seem to be traveling whenever they please, and they're not able to coordinate this well. Normally the Prime Minister approves the ministers' travels, and I see the ministers jumping onto planes and off planes as and when they please, and this is something that can be chaotic if you are not managing issues well. What is my view on the long delay of Porgera mine? Again, to try and please the public's ongoing anger about this closure of the mine. We've been told that it was a short-term pain for long-term gain. In fact, it is now a long-term pain for a really long-term gain. I think that it'll be quite a while before the issue of Porgera will be resolved. That's my honest opinion, and I think it's because there are a lot of issues emerging, and I think some of the landowners are also starting to bring in other issues that were not on the table during the discussions with the developers. And the developers has got an ongoing issues, I understand, about the SML and of course the tax, but from what we're hearing, the SML issues have been resolved and has been passed on to Barrick as they demanded before. This is 4 years, a little bit too late, when decisions like this should have been discussed while the mine was continuously operating. It shouldn't have shut down. It should have allowed to continue to operate. And shutting down, as I said during that occasion, a mine that is giving us one of the highest gold prices during the highest gold prices at that time, shutting down production is just uncalled for. Today we have currency issues because two of the biggest contributors of foreign exchange was Porgera and Octedi. Octedi is continuing to operate, and now we are struggling to have currency available to our people for their use to pay bills and import goods and and so forth. So this pressure will continue as I see it, unless the government in its wisdom can sit down with people like ExxonMobil, sit down with other developers like Newcrest and tell them, listen, you have to bring in some currency into the country. That currency will enable us to try and resolve some of the backlog of issues that are before us. This is not impossible. These are companies that has already got access to big chunks of foreign currency that they are parking in Singapore and many other countries around the world. So they are capable of helping us resolving some of these issues. So I think government officials and government ministers just need to pull back and sit down and attend to some of these discussions in a constructive manner. When you go into a negotiation and when you go into a business discussion with these people, they are very well experienced. You don't go in there with a big bet and try to smash them because you are government. They will tell you to get lost. So it is important that, as I said, that we need to go in their discussion constructively, and they will find a solution with you together. And they are not unreasonable. They will want us to also do well. They want us to resolve some of these problems because they work and operate in our country. They need a stable environment, and that is what is needed. Governments need to go and sit down and talk reasonably with them. And I think one of the things is that this government has lost confidence of the business community. The business community does not appreciate us changing rules all the time. You need to be consistent. If you set one rule, they will invest according to that rule. They will not want you to come back and change it after they've invested. So I think these are some of the things that some of our leaders have no experience in, so they don't understand the sensitivity and the mindset of the business community operating in our country. So I think it is important that we take note of that. So I know we are running out of time. There are a lot of questions coming through. As I said, somebody is coming on something different about IMF, and as I said, IMF conditions are going to be even though IMF director has come out and he's sort of made a political statement to please the government, but he has to highlight the finer details of what his conditions, terms and conditions are. Some of us had an opportunity to read it, and we are able to understand what the terms are and the conditions, and each condition is set for each different drawdown. So I think the first drawdown has taken place, but for the next drawdown, Papua New Guinea needs to also satisfy and meet the conditions that they have set. That includes reforms around the currency, reforms around tax and revenue, and those are terms and conditions that IMF has put, and they can't deny that. They are using flowery words to try and sort of tone down the language, but the reality is there, and the conditions of which we have signed up is there. The danger about IMF's loan to us is that now they are saying that if IMF says no, the countries like Australia, the World Bank, Japanese government, ADB, all these people will say no to the loan. They will not give additional loan to PNG if we do not satisfy the conditions that IMF has set. So this is a danger that we are facing. It won't be long before that, Papua New Guinea has always been a little bit slow in meeting some of these conditions. Eventually we do it, but here they've put on clear timetables, every drawdown, and which is over the course of next 5 to 6 months or 7 months before the end of the year. So let's wait and see what'll happen to it, but we've said what we have to say. Public knows what we stand for, and I hope that they will see their way through and deliver what they've promised us, and that is that they're working towards a balanced budget. There is no major conditions from IMF, but I fear the worst. The other issue is about PNG India Foreign Affairs ministers take critical intention to settle PNG citizens here. Sorry, but I don't quite understand the question, but I know that Indonesia is our neighbor. Many of our refugees from our brothers and sisters from Irian Jaya who've come across. There was questions about should we be able to PNG support the call by our Melanesian brothers and sisters. And when I was chairman of Pacific Island Forum, and the other leaders at that time lifted the membership of our friends from Indonesia, especially for our West Papuans, to be observer status in our Pacific Island Forum. So we've lifted their status up. They were able to participate meaningfully in the forum activities. In the Melanesian Solidarity grouping, not Pacific Island Forum, but we were able to do that. So that is an indication of our, especially Melanesian countries. We want greater recognition for our people in Indonesia, and Indonesia needs to stand up to the global standards that are set across the globe. They are one of the biggest top 20 economies in the world, and they have a presence in the global stage. Indonesia needs to start taking responsibility about the call of our people in West Papua, and that is that they want to have their choice about how they govern their own affairs, and whatever structure that Indonesia thinks that they should discuss should be on the table, and they should start talking to our people in West Papua. But as you know, when we were in government, most of the people who were in limbo, especially the refugees, we gave them all citizenships, and that they are part of our community and our country, and they are able to exercise their rights as Papua New Guineans in our country. The other question is about, it says, I think we've spoken about this, but explain why world leaders are coming to our countries. As I said earlier, in summary, these are the issues that are before us. One, the Americans and the Indians coming to our country is one, because they are expanding their national interest. Two, Americans are coming to sign, from what I understand, defense agreement with Papua New Guinea, so that they can have access to our airports and wharfs, so that they can have their military personnel and military facilities and equipments use our facilities while they are operating in this region. There is a little bit of a danger for us in PNG because of our strategic positioning as a member of the Asia Pacific and also the region. We have very strong ties with people that have geopolitical issues with the United States, and Papua New Guinea should be very careful about how it signs that. The second issue is about the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs. As I said, the country has made its position, the people have spoken. Prime Minister has not taken action about the Minister of Foreign Affairs stepping aside. It's not good enough. He has to resign as Minister of Foreign Affairs, or Prime Minister needs to decommission him. There is no other choice. I think to have him continue as our Foreign Affairs Minister is now not possible because of the words that he has used, the descriptions that he has described our people. They are most degrading and insulting. It has made our people very angry, that labeling of us as primitives and animals and useless. I don't consider myself as useless. I'm not an animal, I'm a human being. And certainly I'm not a primitive. I'm quite well educated. I can read and write. I have common sense. I can be able to engage with people in a meaningful way, and those kind of descriptions that while he is representing us in the global forums and global community, he's certainly not representing Papua New Guineans if he feels that way. Even though he was emotional about some of the issues regarding his daughter, but he's a leader. He needs to be careful about what he says and how he behaves. And I think it is important to stress that the decision, the honorable thing for him to do is resign as Minister of Foreign Affairs. And if not, the only thing the Prime Minister can do, if he cares about the wishes of our people, and if he cares that this is wrong to describe our people in this manner, he should then decommission him. So with those few words, thank you once again for joining me. As I said, the next session we will try and take a few issues, and because we are getting hundreds and hundreds of questions about different things. Even though when we say we are going to discuss a certain subject, it's coming out from every other sectors and every other field. So what I will do is we will do a Q&A, questions and answer session, and we will set a date within the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll take it on from there. But good night, Ruagata. Thank you, Larem Liglik Toktok Blomi. God blessing you, Blogata. You stop strong. Thank you.